You know, because it's Chaos and it's next to a controller? Chaos Control? No? Nothing? Right, well, you can all go fuck. Even the Americans amongst you, no offence, will probably know that Sonic the Hedgehog on the Master System is an entirely original game, completely different to the Mega Drive version. It was also the last official release America ever got for the Master System. However, over here in Europe and in much of the rest of the world, we got sequels. Developed by Aspect, Sonic 2 follows a template set down by Sonic 1, but adds other things like bigger levels, destructible walls, and hang gliders. It's also rock hard, and if you don't collect all the Chaos Emeralds, it's implied that Tails dies. Anyway, after that we got Sonic Chaos, released in 1993. It was again developed by Aspect, and it's where they started to really follow their own path. Before we start, there's no way I'm comparing Sonic Chaos to the 16-bit Sonic games. People seem to forget that, amongst other things, the 16-bit Sonic games were technical masterpieces. There's literally no comparison to be had. I am, however, going to compare Sonic Chaos to the 8-bit versions of Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 due to the incredibly high standard that they set, and that's a standard that Sonic Chaos really needs to live up to. With that in mind, let's start with something that Sonic Chaos does really well. I actually think the graphics in Sonic Chaos are really good. Sonic and Tails both have decently sized sprites, and the redesign of Sonic is a nice evolution of what came before. It's certainly a lot nicer than what we got with Sonic Blast. Ugh. Just remember, pre-rendered Sonic isn't real. He can't hurt you. Anyway, the bosses in particular are impressively big, with some clever use of multiple sprites that you don't often see on a Master System. As well as that, I actually think the decision to use Badniks for the bosses instead of Dr. Robotnik actually works in Sonic Chaos' favour. It let the designers add more creativity and variety to things, rather than just working off different versions of the same Robotnik sprite. And yes, I said Dr. Robotnik. If you'd rather I called him Eggman, then why don't you go sit at the kids' table where you belong? Now, the trade-off for bigger sprites is a more zoomed-in point of view when compared to Sonic 1 and 2, but it's not so bad that it gets in the way of playing the game. Anyway, on a more positive note, the backgrounds in Sonic Chaos are really nicely done. Obviously, we were never getting the parallax scrolling from the 16-bit games, but the animations they've added they add a sense of life to the backgrounds that was sometimes missing from Sonic 1 and 2. Also, round of applause for this sky effect. Well done, lads. That's just lovely. All in all, the graphics actually get a big thumbs up from me. I mean, you wouldn't mistake Sonic Chaos for a Mega Drive game, but it looks pretty stellar for a Master System game. Anyway, moving on, let's talk about the music and the sound effects. They're fine. Okay, that's a bit reductive. The music and sound effects aren't noticeably worse than Sonic 1 or 2, but at the same time, there aren't any certified bangers, except for the final boss tune. To be honest, I'd love to have more to say about the sound, especially the music. I'd love to be able to say that Aspect tried something insane and experimental, something that would be debated for decades to come, like the soundtrack to Streets of Rage 3. But it's just fine. You know, there's nothing as good as the Lava Reef Zone Act 2 music. Actually, that's not really a statement about Sonic Chaos, is it? That's just a universal statement of fact. Anyway, enough said about the sound. Let's jump into the gameplay. Starting with a positive note, you can finally, on a Master System, play as Tails. And it makes no meaningful difference to how you play the game. Yes, Tails can fly, but it doesn't exactly open up new pathways or options like playing as Knuckles did in Sonic 3 or Sonic and Knuckles. Tails is really just there. Let's talk about something interesting instead, the special stages. In Sonic Chaos, if you collect 100 rings instead of getting an extra life, you are warped directly to the special stage where you can collect a ton of rings and a Chaos Emerald. The special stages themselves are all different, they've all got a unique gimmick, and they function a little bit like a small puzzle inside a short time limit. It's an interesting twist on things, and I actually started to really enjoy it. It was a welcome change of pace before jumping into the next act. And that's the other interesting thing. Once you finish the special stage, successfully or not, you don't just get plonked back where you were, you finish the act that you were on. So essentially you've got two different paths for progression. You can either run to the signpost at the end of the stage, or you can explore the stage, collect 100 rings, and go through the special stage. However, this brings me on to a common criticism of Sonic Chaos, that the acts for each zone are too small, too short, too empty, and don't have any interesting design. Of course, I'm just talking about Acts 1 and 2. Act 3 is shite no matter what Sonic game you're playing. Anyway, I can understand the point of view of each act being too short. Kind of. If you just want to run to the signpost at the end of the stage, then in almost every act you can do it in a short and underwhelming 30 seconds. Make your own jokes. But if you want to go to the special stage, then you really have to explore each act to get those 100 rings. And when I started doing that, each act started to slowly come alive. I'd find multiple paths, profoundly irritating traps, zone-specific gimmicks, just lots of nice wee bits of game design. It's almost like aiming for the special stage is the right way to play Sonic Chaos, and the signpost at the end is only there if you're a bit shit. And that strikes me as odd, because much as I enjoyed exploring each act, it's not the obvious way to play a Sonic game. Remember, we're 3 games in by this point, and people would have certain expectations of a Sonic game. Run to the right, hit the signpost. But Sonic Chaos makes the most obvious way to play kind of dull. It's not a deal breaker, but it's a bit weird. It's also a minor flaw compared to the controls. Sonic games, whether they're 8-bit, 16-bit, sort of quasi 32-bit but released 20 years later, they absolutely live and die on how it feels to control Sonic. Getting the sense of speed and weight and momentum right is what makes games like Sonic Mania so much fun to play. Getting it wrong is why we try not to talk about Sonic 4 anymore. If you don't nail that sense of speed, weight and momentum, then the whole thing falls apart. And this is where Sonic Chaos falls apart. In Sonic Chaos, Sonic feels floaty and slidey and wrong. I'll give you 2 examples. The first one, jumping makes Sonic feel far too light. Now, other Sonic games will happily fling the wee blue reprobate over the hills and far away, but only once you've built up the required speed to shift an object of that weight. In Sonic Chaos, Sonic sort of floats about like a drunk party balloon. Now for the second example, Sonic is so slidey. I'd make a P. Diddy baby oil joke, but it's kind of insensitive. And I already made it in a different video. In any case, the game feels like someone's greased up the New Balance trainers that Sonic presumably needs by this point. Now this is bad enough when you're, say, trying to jump between small platforms without dying. But the real deal breaker for me was this. That's just not how physics works. Now these problems aren't strictly game breaking, it's still possible to play Sonic Chaos to completion and even have some fun while you're doing so. But these problems are what stops Sonic Chaos feeling like a legitimate Sonic game. It sort of breaks the Sonic-ness of it. It comes off like you're playing a Sonic bootleg for the NES that you downloaded off an emulation site, or like you ordered Sonic off Wish, or that you asked your parents if you could order some Sonic for dinner and they said no because you've got Sonic at home. I'll be honest, that last one didn't really stick the landing, but you get my point. Is Sonic Chaos worth seeking out today? Kind of, not really, no. Sonic Chaos is not a great 8-bit Sonic game because it did not get Sonic's movement right. And yet, I wouldn't say that Sonic Chaos is a bad game. It's a great looking, well put together platformer that makes some interesting design choices. To be honest, when I started writing this video, I was expecting to roast Sonic Chaos, and I didn't. I roasted Sonic Blast more than anything. To be honest, while replaying Sonic Chaos, I actually had a lot more fun than I was expecting to. But the fact remains, Sonic Chaos doesn't feel like a Sonic game. Not in the way that the Master System versions of Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 did. And sadly, Sonic Chaos isn't as good as those games either. If I had endless time to spare and I wanted to play every single Sonic game ever made, then sure, I would give Sonic Chaos a shot. But I don't have endless time. I've got a job, and I've got a baby who has a crippling Sesame Street addiction. Now don't get me wrong, Sonic Chaos is a part of Sega and Sonic's history, and if you had it as a kid, then you'll probably enjoy playing it and being transported back to a happier time which had at least 81% less fascism going on. But the thing is, in 1993, Master System owners had to take what they were given and f***ing like it. It's 2025 now, and I've upgraded to at least a Sega Saturn. And the truth is, there are so many better Sonic games out there, both official and unofficial. In fact, if I was to recommend anything, it would be the remakes of 8-bit Sonic 1 and 2 that were part of the Sonic Amateur Games Expo. They look and play just like the original 8-bit games, but they add a lot of new content and quality of life improvements. I can't recommend them enough, and I'll leave some links in the description. Because, I mean, if I recommended the games and then didn't leave a link, that would be kind of, well, chaotic. Oh, that's a different game. I had to buy not one, but 2 Sonic games that I don't really rate for this video. I had to buy a box version of Sonic Chaos so I could get the CRT footage and a nice shot of the box artwork. And then, because I made one small joke about Sonic 4, I had to f***ing buy that as well. This didn't used to be an expensive hobby is all I'm saying.